is a long-standing interpreter here at Gallaudet and is working with emerging signers and that program here at Gallaudet, as many of you are emerging signers. She is part of that program along with Gallaudet Interpreting Services. So without further ado, Juniper, come on up.
Hello, everyone. Thank you all for having me. The first thing that I would like to do is mention that I don't really like this room. It's not very visually friendly because you all are in rows and it's hard to be able to see each other. So that's a little bit of a contradiction to deaf culture in that sense. So I'm not really comfortable in this room regarding that. If you are willing to make it more friendly, deaf friendly, would you mind moving up to the front so we can better see each other? I see a couple students all the way in the back of the room. If you wouldn't mind, could you please move up closer, take a seat closer to the front of the room? Yeah, come on up. I'd like to have a more engaging conversation. I'd like us to be more collected together. Yeah, I can stand here, not a problem, sure. I don't want to block the PowerPoint, but I can absolutely stand around here. She just asked me if she could sit there, and thank you for asking. You're more than welcome to sit there. So she introduced my name as Juniper. Thank you very much. I also do want to let you know that interpreters working in this session, and I'll give you their names. First, we have Adam Bartley, and then Amy Lanassa. Okay, so there are interpreters for this session, and we also have a captioner whose first name is Darla. Okay? I would request that you please do not use your pagers during this presentation. All right, thank you so much. Now, if you have a comment or a question, please do stand up and come to the front of the room, regardless if you plan to sign or use spoken English. I'd rather you come up to the front of the room or to the side of the room, that's fine as well, because we want to make sure that everyone can see each other easily. All right? Thank you. It's funny because I wanted to do a warm-up, but I know that all of you are already pretty warmed up already, right? But this is a little bit of a different warm-up or an icebreaker. So I want you to quickly look toward your neighbor. Come on in.
Oh, we're peer counselors. We're just checking to see if all the students are here.
Okay, you're more than welcome to join the group. Have a seat. So I want you to look toward your neighbor and tell them very quickly, in less than, say, a minute, what is the best experience or best thing about Gallaudet that you've experienced so far? Quickly, 1 minute, less than 1 minute. Turn quickly to your neighbor, to the right of you, and talk to your neighbor.
The presentation, you still decide when you want to switch, but that's just so that you have some sense of time. Any other time if you want, you just go take it. If it's before that time, anything.
Okay, if you're all, I think we have a couple more people who are still working on this. Okay. All right, if I could have your attention. Okay, all right, everyone. Eyes up to the front here. Can I have your attention, please? If you're ready, is everyone finished there? How about you? We're all good? Can I get your attention right? Okay. Oh, could I have your, okay. I just wanted to let you know, I mean, you may already have been told this, but when someone is standing in the front and say I'm presenting to you, I can't move along with my presentation if I don't have your eye contact. Because I'll know that you're getting the information if I have your eyes or your eye contact. So thank you for attending to that. Okay, has anyone here seen the Gallaudet mission statement? I know that some of you have, some of you haven't. It's a pretty lengthy mission statement, but it is important. When you have time, I would suggest you take a look through it. And there's one term that I want to emphasize right now, and I'll show you that term right here. In the second line, you'll see the word bilingual. And that's in our Gallaudet mission statement. Okay, so now you'll see it right here as well. Bilingual learning environment. Now, let me ask you, why is that important for you? How does that apply to you? Yeah, come up to the front, please. Yeah, it's all right. Come on up. You can do it. All of you have to get used to this. That's how we communicate here, to be able to see each other, okay? You have the floor.
Well, to learn more about Gallaudet, what the rules are.
Okay, so if you know both languages and then you're able to understand everything at Gallaudet, correct?
Verbal and signed.
Okay, any other thoughts? Thank you, you can have a seat. Come on up. Yippers, come on up. I know that you're shy, but come on up, really. It's completely fine, you're gonna be just fine.
Well, to learn about how to communicate with hard of hearing and deaf people and hearing people.
Exactly, and hearing people. And you're right, you're absolutely right. If I could have your attention, yeah. So we are bilingual here. That means you are able to communicate with everybody. You don't want to limit yourself to only to be able to communicate with one group of people. So thank you for sharing that. Okay, now here's the problem. We have a bilingual university here, right? And you are not bilingual, right? What do? So we do have an answer for that, not to worry. The big answer is Jumpstart, really. This is where you're gonna get some tools here, and that's reason for you to come here early before the classrooms and learning start, to come here to learn about language and culture and to have that focus. So this is a great first step. We do have more support for you to get you into the semester, so no worries about that as well. So here at Gallaudet, you may notice that you have to, quote unquote, catch up. And we know that you all do have some catching up to do for you to be able to come bilingual users, to be able to be proficient in American Sign Language and spoken English or written English. And we want to talk about the classroom supports that we have to be able to continue that learning. Oh, if you could actually go back to the bicycle. Okay. So here we have in-classroom support. And I'll talk to you about 4 different types of supports, but I do want you to understand this critical part. The best way to learn a language, well, do any of you know what the best way is to learn a particular language?
Immersion.
Right, immerse yourself into the language. Meaning if you want to learn French, you would want to go to Paris, right? You wouldn't actually have an interpreter there. If you would like to learn, I don't know, Spanish, you would maybe go to Latin America. But would there be an interpreter there? No. So sometimes, if you have an interpreter available, it actually might slow down your learning of that language, if you can imagine that. So again, here at Gallaudet University, we are aware and we do understand the best ways of fully immersing yourself. That is the best way to learn the language here. And if you want to take that path, you can choose that path. You can say, you know, I don't want interpreters in the classroom. You know, I want to be fully immersed. If you are comfortable with that. If you're not comfortable with that, then we do have 4 options for you. And these options are more like training wheels on a bicycle, with the goal that eventually you would stop using those training wheels and become quote unquote bilingual in the sense that you wouldn't need these particular supports. So eventually I want to see those supports in a sense, you know, for you not to be so reliant on it as soon as possible, to see those training wheels come off and for you to ride independently. I'm sure that many of you, well, let me ask, how many of you have experienced working with an interpreter? Okay, we have some hands raised. Can someone tell me the main goal of what an interpreter's job might be, or to have an interpreter? The main goal there of interpreting, or to have an interpreter? Anyone? Any thoughts? Okay, yeah, come on up. Yippers, come on up to the front of the room. You can do it. Yeah, that's fine if you want to stand on the side there, but what's the main goal of having an interpreter?
Communication.
Okay, tell me a little bit more about how communication would happen.
Well, to communicate with the teacher, if you've got a hearing teacher presenting and talking, and you want to ask a question or anything, then you communicate with the interpreter who understands it, and it makes sense to them. And like, for example, if the teacher is using a really big word, then the interpreter will have to sign it in a way that you can understand it. And intelligent, and so that you can become more intelligent.
Okay, all of that is exactly correct. And within this environment that you're talking about, the interpreter is supposed to interpret everything, right? Everything. Isn't that right?
Uh-huh.
Okay, you can go ahead and have a seat. So, one big difference about Gallaudet University is that the interpreter does not interpret everything. Again, because we want to give you all the opportunity to learn. So interpreting and interpreters may look a little different here than maybe what you have experienced in the past. Okay, so of course we do provide interpretation, standard interpreting. The interpreter will listen to the message and put it into sign language, or we'll look at the sign language that is being used and put it into spoken English. So if you're unable to hear, I mean, you're at a deaf university, you're probably, many of you are probably listening or not listening. Many of you can't hear, right? Or unable to hear. So if that's the situation, we will provide CART services or captioning. So there are 2 different types of captioning. One is CART, and that is actually more real-time captioning. And then we have another type, which is called Typewell. And that kind of captioning is more of a summary of the content, and there's a little bit more of a delay with Typewell captioning. And for that reason, we suggest that CART captioning happens mostly within the classrooms. And Typewell